rescues I made. 2010, they tell me I'm getting old. They say I have to retire. Mandatory retirement at 57. You know, and I really can't chase these kids as much as I could before. So I retired. I went to Afghanistan for 2 years to work fraud cases for an inspector general. And when I came back, I decided to teach human trafficking. I was in Afghanistan when the producer of this film tracked me down. He interviews this girl at a non-government organization called Polaris Project. And she tells her story about this FBI agent who was always outside and he rescued her. And he interviewed me when I came home, and I'm in this film. I'm very proud of it. So I've been knocking on doors for the last 2 years, going to police departments, trying to train. My course manual is 325 pages long. I said in Afghanistan we were working about 12, 14-hour days, 6 days a week, so I thought, well, I'll just write it. It was good therapy being in Afghanistan. So if I wanted to teach a policeman or an FBI agent or a deputy marshal what you need to know about human trafficking, what would I do? And that was like 275 pages. I've had 50 pages more. And it's very interesting because University of Louisville has hired me as an instructor. I teach in their command officers course. And I do about 2 or 3 times a year. And these are all captains and majors, lieutenants, sometimes chiefs of police. And for this 2-day course, 16 hours, I used to budget the first hour for them. Hey, let's talk about your most important human trafficking case. So anybody would like to go first? 50 people in a room. I've done it 3 times. Now one hand goes up. Now I'm worried because I've budgeted an hour. And I realized after the second course, something's wrong. This is the second fastest growing crime in the United States, let alone the world. This is a $150 billion industry. Whatever number you want to do, when you start doing billions, I don't know the difference between 23 billion or 37 billion. That's a lot of money. And 20 million people in slavery around the world, forced labor. Not sex trafficking, forced labor. There's so much going on. And here in our country, we abolished slavery in 1865, called the 13th Amendment. And then we had the 14th Amendment, and then we had the 15th Amendment. And in between, we've had civil rights acts. So all this stuff prohibited. Traditionally, the FBI looks at every human trafficking case as a civil rights act violation. You're being forced to do work for something, whether it's picking fruit, whether it's the dry cleaner business, or it's for sex. You're doing some kind of work against your will for somebody else. And that's prohibited as slavery. Now, we had Civil Rights Act in 1867, 1890. It didn't really work with something called Jim Crow law. And all that separate legal stuff goes for about 80 years. The reason why we have the 1964 Civil Rights Act, it was to address the Jim Crow laws that have been around since the 1870s. And that just nipped it in the bud, that 1964 Civil Rights Act, which is our foundation in law enforcement to go after human traffickers. Even then, that's another 75, 80 years, and we're still dealing with it. We have some new laws. They passed a new law in 2000 called the Trafficking Victims Protection Act, and it gave us big felony crimes on it, and forfeitures, and all kinds of more powers. But the congressman who passed it, Mr. Wellstone, Senator Wellstone, said either law enforcement is either through complacency or inadequate laws have made human trafficking a low-risk business venture.